is rich in tradition. It's like what has come before with the painters, what has come before, what styles have come before, what techniques have come before.
In this third one, we have a CGI sequence. It's been challenging because it's so outside of what we normally do in the Wick world. It's just been a different experience.
We set such higher standards on the first two movies that you always have to kind of one-up it. We tried to put things on the edge of what's real and still make it cinematic.
There are a lot of influences in the film, and one of the things that I saw a picture called Villainous, and it turned out that Chad had seen it.
Villainous was a great film, great action movie, great Asian cinema. And they had a great motorcycle sequence in it. And it's been the first film in a while where me and my stunt team were impressed, like, oh, that was a really cool idea. We're like, well, we don't want to copy it, we don't do this. We're like, you know what? Not only are we gonna copy it, we're gonna try and figure it out.
They came together and they were like,
On the first John Wick, we had an extremely limited budget. Most of what we did, practical and long takes, is because we simply couldn't afford a second camera. And at the time, they came from a very limited budget too, and they did something that was fresh. It was new. It was a new way to kind of shoot this bike chase. The first couple times we watched it, me and my stunt team, my VFX team, for the life of us, we couldn't figure out exactly how they did it. So in this obsessive way, we're like, let's just try to figure it out, just for our own sake. And we started trying to figure it out, and we're like, oh, this is what they did. This is really interesting. It was like a puzzle we tried to piece together. It wasn't as simple as we thought it was. It was a lot of work, and it was a lot of creative skill. This is tipping our hat to them. You know, it's like, good job. Good fucking job.
It's our first full CGI action sequence.
This is probably one of the most complicated visual effects sequences I've been involved in, purely from a choreography standpoint.
It's so different than what we normally do.
There's more of a partnership with stunts and visual effects than people know. That way you can kind of do more low-budget stuff with using effects. I don't have to use practical effects. So I think that's an important partnership in terms of action filmmaking now. And you can kind of get these kind of amazing shots you couldn't do practically.
They designed this motorcycle sequence that involved live action and in the moment, and then working in a computer-generated space. When you do that to try and make it look real, that's the challenge. Like, how do you get the vicissitude?
We shot the motorcycle sequence on the Verrazano Bridge. It's this big suspension bridge, and it's multi-levels, and it was really great because you could see New York in the background, and it really made for a great, spectacular setting. Everything we did had to have a visceral reaction to the audience.
When we saw that, I thought it was the concept was awesome. Like, one thing was kind of stationary, and the other two were moving, or two things were stationary, and only one thing was moving. So we're like, well, we can one-up that. We can make everything moving in the frame, so there's not really a cheat.
Tonight's craziness is the second half of the motorcycle shinobi fight. This has been something we've been working on for a couple months to try and get this thing right.
The stunt team worked out the choreography first. That was super important. You have to get the fight beats working, and then everything else will come after that. Then you start working on cameras. And then, of course, you have to adjust the fight because you want to make sure the camera looks at the right thing at the right time. We did yet another test of that where we shot it on green screen. And we realized that what the stunt team had been working on actually wasn't 100% the right size by about a couple of feet per lane.
Getting over there, juice.
Well, a couple of feet per lane is a big deal. We redid the whole thing. That was 2 days of shooting that we spent doing just the layout to make sure we could do it. And from that, we discovered there were certain things that were working really well, certain things that actually didn't work quite well. But the good thing is it taught us timing, and it taught us what the choreography really, truly needed to be. And so the stunt team did an incredible job of making sure that all that stuff really, really worked. Once we had that, then we were ready to actually do the action.
Came up with this concept of having motorcycles that were on these pivots because they wanted to have mobility, and then they wanted to move them in this green room. So then there were people pushing them in green suits.
Yeah, we just wanted to put some dudes in green suits, really. It was pretty great. I just wanted to embarrass the stunt team.
This suit sucks.
So then it became this dance.
It's like dance choreography. There's movements. There's a language of movement that we have to, you have to play to.
The choreography is so interlaced between the guys pushing the bikes, the actual fight choreography, and the camera move.
You're on a motorcycle, you wind machines, but that could move, you know? We could literally have all of the behaviors, and leaning and hitting each other, and choreography, doing the kind of reality, virtual reality, dream action sequence. So it's motorcycles with swords.
Chad Stahelski is extremely relentless, but that's how you get what you want in this business, right? That's how you get John Wick Part 1 done. That's how you get Part 2 done. And Part 3, to go bigger and crazier, you have to be relentless. You have to have the vision, and he absolutely does. This film is filled with logistical issues because of all the complicated work that goes into it, but ultimately he does have a vision for what he wants. And he works with everybody to make sure that that vision is achievable.
I love working with Chad, and to be able to keep telling these stories is great. And for me to have the opportunity to continue to tell the story with Chad's vision and everyone involved is really exciting and thrilling, and hopefully people will enjoy it.
I'd like to see the manager.
John Wick, excommunicado.
3, 2,
1.
When we were finishing chapter 2, I was like, okay, the park, John is running for his life. Let's get John on a horse. Chad was like, yes.
What better to be a modern-day cowboy than a guy in a three-piece suit shooting guys on a horse?
And it was not only what we wanted to see, but then also we got to respond to reactions from the audience of what they might be interested in. And it turned out that those aligned.
We've always talked about our influences, both Keanu and myself, from spaghetti westerns to samurai films to some of the great Asian action films.
All of these gifts.
The earliest thing I had in my notebook is going to an old gun shop and assembling a great gun out of a lot of different pieces. It's our way of letting the audience know that we're having fun with you, we're not taking ourselves too seriously, and it's a little kickback to films we love.
There's a lot more action, more sequences, different kinds of action. Hallie had the dogs, and I had the horse training. Chad was like, time to train on a horse. And I was like, yes.
The thing I like about him the most is he has a lot of respect for the animals. He learned all the different horses. He rode an American saddlebred. It was actually Stallion and American Morgans.
Riding a horse was too easy for Keanu Reeves, so we had him do trick riding.
As we used trick riding horses, he was able to hang on the side and recover.
legend, Tad Griffin.
He had to be comfortable at high rates of speed. Had to be fast. One move had to be into the next move. There couldn't be a lot of downtime getting from one spot to another.
I want to like come in at speed and then just go, come on!
Chad asked Scott and I to come up with different scenarios that a person in a close fight could actually use horses as shields and as weapons, and ultimately as a getaway. We started incorporating kicks and strikes and rares. The one thing that hasn't been seen before would be a horse kicking with both feet at someone.
We had to figure out ways to actually make it safe and convenient for a horse to ride through Brooklyn with Keanu Reeves in charge as he's hanging off the side and underneath the horse, shooting bad guys on motorcycles that were trying to pull him off a horse.
Everybody feels the need to really bump up the action, to set itself apart. Difference being, this is real.
The only production foolish enough to try and do a horse chase through New York City.
There is a number of shots that I didn't know if we would ever be able to pull that off.
The Humane Society said you cannot have horses running on that kind of a surface. And so we put giant rubber pads down that covered the entire street. There's no street in Bensonhurst that has random rubber mats everywhere. Not even in New York does that happen. We then had to take them out digitally, which actually meant complete CG replacement of the roads.
But when you see John Wick doing all the massive fight choreography and the longer takes on the motorcycle and the horse, that's actually Keanu Reeves because that is his talent ability. We push him to his limits, and he operates or performs at his limit.
Get off the saddle, go sideways, hold on to the neck, and then shoot somebody. And that was next level. The idea was, how can I do these tricks and be safe? So Scott developed this idea of a movie truck, some girders, and we'll pick you, and we'll do wire work on a horse. And Chad will sit on the top of this thing on a perch, and he'll guide the horses, and then you'll ride in this contraption.
We didn't have to do it 100 times because he'd already perfected it. When they rolled cameras, Keanu nailed it.
You can't fake the training. Watching Keanu gallop 22 miles an hour through traffic is pretty extraordinary.
Here, let's say, let's run! Aww.
As far as dog movies that I've worked on, this is one of the most ambitious, without a doubt.
John Wick has definitely penetrated the zeitgeist with his love of dogs.
It really goes back to Chad's idea of gun foo, horse foo, dog foo.
To have multiple dogs that are doing this with gunfire going around, flips.
Canine, human, bad guy, gunfire.
That is what's really cool about the training that we've been able to do.
They're that precise, these dogs. He said a week later in hospital, it's all going to go very smoothly.
Probably inadvertently, we became kind of a dog film. You can always get bigger and bigger guns, but why not go the canine route?
Chad loves dogs, and so, obviously, I think was looking to incorporate that into his vision of his action.
To train a dog from a smaller adolescent age to an adult, there was a way to do it so that it was beneficial to the animal and safe for both the animal and the stunt performer. Bumped into a trainer named Andrew Sensen, very famous, does all the wolves in Game of Thrones. We wanted to train the dogs in a playful way to actually become stunt dogs. We got together some of the best acrobats and martial artists in the industry. So if this was the bite, you get the dog to twist. Got them together with 5 Belgian Malinois dogs that we had went out and cast for both intelligence and physicality. Oh, I know. Hi. Yes, hi. Kisses.
He's older. He's 2.
He's like solid.
This one we have dogs that we bought at birth and had been training for 7 months prior.
I mean, they went specifically out and found young dogs that were trained specifically for the movie.
These are dogs that the military uses. They're like really smart, strong, agile. They could literally climb a vertical wall.
Most animals are taught to calm down and not have that level of aggressiveness during playtime for obvious reasons. See when they perk their ears like that? That means they look at food.
Belgian Malinois are known for their ability to, more than just attack, to actually hit, to jump and dive and basically punch you with their nose.
We were training both acting dogs and stunt dogs.
Is that the dog? He likes you.
So it ends up being a lot more complicated because they are almost doing 2 different things.
Teach them how to be ninjas. We decided, well, we can't have the trainers where we always want them to be, so the best way to do it was train the cast to be the on-camera trainer.
It was a real relationship that was built, and there were 5 of them. I could command them just like the trainers could command them. So I would spend 4 days a week out there with the dogs, 2-3 hours a day, and I would just go through the drills with them just like the trainers. As the trainers were learning who they were, I was learning who they were. They're ferocious looking, and they're doing some amazing stunts, but they're also really sweet. So I get a certain amount of time to just love on them and play with them. And then I have another set of time where I work with training them. When we're actually shooting, I can actually command them and tell them what to do, and they'll actually, hopefully, on the day, listen to me.
Allie spent over 8 months on and off working with the trainers, to a point where when I was training with her, the trainer said to me, yeah, they treat her like a trainer.
I think she really understood what she was up against, and she couldn't come in with anything less than everything she had.
We've been training them since January. We're going to bring them to Morocco. We have to bring them there 4 or 5 weeks before we get there to get acclimated to the weather, because it's really hot there.
Who knows what we encounter in Morocco, but this is all about being able to walk into those situations and rely on the dog to do what we've trained him to do.
Morocco is one of the most challenging filmmaking experiences I'm sure I will ever have.
Having trained for 6 months was essential in getting through this process and not blowing up the place. There's cats everywhere. And when my dogs saw cats, they went ballistic. We'd be in the middle of a scene and all of a sudden a cat would come strolling by and off goes the dog, because at the end of the day, they're animals. Their nature says, you know, go get that cat. Before every scene, somebody would come in and do a cat sweep and try to get all the cats out of the square. But Chad's takes are so long, inevitably during a take, a cat would, you know, wander through the set and then there goes the dogs.
So Hallie would be giving commands on the day that told the dogs where to go during the takes.
There's a lot of atmospheric smoke for camera, you know, a lot of different lights and a lot of different sounds. So for them, it's taken a minute to get used to it, but they're performing excellently. They've been doing a really good job. They've really trained the work with Hallie when she's needing them to do, you know, precision movements.
And then there's some complicated acting scenes where you just need a dog to sit and stay while dialogue goes on, but keep that gaze locked. You know, like these are supposed to be Sophia's weapons.
Sit.
They are focused on protecting her.
They have a sense of play, but they also are known to, like, attack on command.
What most people don't know is when you see a dog attack a stunt person or a trainer on camera, it's a dog trying to kill the individual. The dog doesn't know it's a movie.
We've got so many different kinds of hits. We want to target the dog to a leg, or to an arm, or to a chest. You start just with a device used to focus the dog to a certain area. It's called a tug. To be able to say, no, don't hit that guy, don't hit that guy, hit that guy 30 feet away.
And you show them the toy that they want to hit, it's on.
They're not just biting, slowly coming in, they're slamming into people. So when you're trying to ask dogs to do that, but be safe, it's very ambitious.
Sophia, always so nice to see you. And the dogs, of course, are marvelous. So I turned up just to meet them and have a little gun rehearsal. Fantastic. And before I knew it, I was doing this kind of dog versus my crutch stunt, which was not expected.
God bless Jerome Flynn, he went for it. He did the stunt.
I mean, there's a dog involved and my crutch. So, yeah, that's going to be a new experience for me. But I didn't see that coming.
Pound for pound, their strength is extraordinary. I mean, I'm watching them pull a 180-pound guy across the ground. And these dogs, I don't think, weigh 60 pounds.
You shot my dog.
I get it.
Behind the scenes is actually the dog just playing. And it's just them doing what they naturally do. Now that we've just finished shooting that sequence, I think it's going to be everything that, you know, we had wished it could be.
We just found talented individuals to do the hard work that it would take to pull off the shots.
What's going to end up on screen is going to look like these killer animals.
I would say 80% of the people I know have a pet, either dog or cat, preferably dogs mostly. And, you know, dogs show you who you are. Like, they know character better than anybody.
It was a relationship, and a really lovely one. I'm an animal person. I have 2 dogs myself, so that was the sweetest part of my day, to go and hang out with the dogs.
I love architecture. I love figuring out ways to make set pieces more intricate into the action. John Wick just gives the opportunity to let loose a little bit and help create something that's original.
Our sets are incredible. Kevin Cavanaugh and his team designed some really amazing sets. They're all spectacular.
You know, in 2 we did a mirror room, in 3 we have this insane glass house that was a multi-million-dollar set, which had to be designed by engineers and is just a logistical nightmare.
So we thought the coolest place to hide ninjas was a place that you can't hide anything, which is an entire house made out of glass. I think it's a very good reference to ninjas and what they can do optically and hide their presence.
When we first got in there, like the sets weren't built yet. We can kind of visualize it. Chad actually had the set built VR.
Luckily, I was able to have a VR department that we were able to design the set in virtual reality.
This is the art department for John Wick 3. Originally, these sets were 2D concept art, just drawings. Normally, the typical thing that we do in film is create a model. We'll stand around that model and view it, and then we kind of took all that data and brought it into the computer, and then actually have digital versions of them that we can explore before even one nail gets hammered on the actual physical sets.
So I was able to design a couple ideas and have Chad come into the art department and put on the VR goggles and see if he liked some ideas that we were experimenting with, and have the stunt coordinator come in and the lighting, Dan Louston, come in and talk about lighting. So the virtual reality was a big part of the design aspect of the set.
The ideal situation for this is to have something like this on a soundstage and being able to walk, explore, and plan out your scenes.
We had to work simultaneously with the stunts and some of the action sequence that happens there.
This is reflected on how big actually one of the floors are. This allows us to design action without actually having to be on the actual practical set. Coming into these virtual sets early allows us to make any changes or modifications. So if everyone's happy, we can actually make the practical set to all our specifications.
Chad had me put on these VR glasses, and he had the whole set in there. So I got to walk it virtually and listen to him talk about what he wanted to do.
You can actually go into these scenes and you can build them on the actual sound stages and see what they'll look like.
Cut to, months later, we're actually shooting the scene and I'm part of it.
Once it was built and we scouted it and then we started looking at it and then they started lighting it and brought it up, it was stunning. I mean, it's just a stunning set piece.
The glass house is amazing, that design of that set, and that's lit with only LED lights. I think we empty more or less New York for thousands of feet of LED lights. And that's a fantastic studio build as well.
Glass house is also very expensive. It's not only for set, but like real building.
It's more of an upgrade to the mirror room where you kind of see the reflections and see what's going on. This one is like, you can't see anything.
Just getting to where we were supposed to fight was a little bit challenging because of all the glass. A couple people actually ran into the glass, and I always made sure to put my hand out, my foot out first, because I wasn't sure. It's very spooky, but very cool.
So we tried to put, how does a ninja hide in a glass house, and kind of create that problem for ourselves. The fact that we could still do it practically without VFX helping us out on how to hide all these guys within a house completely made of glass was what we wanted to do.
We're playing a lot with the optical illusions, using the lighting and all the reflections and refractions from the glass.
Because of certain practical lighting effects and camera angles, we could hide the guys throughout the glass house.
And that's a combination between you and VisFX and practical effects, because they have a lot to do. They got to erase reflections and try to shoot so we don't see the reflections.
We wanted to utilize the glass house as much as possible, so we took that fight and went through every inch of that floor.
What would you do when you find a glass house? Be careful not to break anything, but in this case, everything's gonna break.
So it will break while the action. For us, it's also very interesting how we will do while the real shooting.
When you have glass and lots of stunt guys and someone like Chad, you can't wait to start breaking glass and the ideas of what that would look like. So we're about ready to get into some serious glass shattering the next couple days.
Anytime you go through glass, there's all these injuries that can happen. Even though we rig it, you're gonna get cut. That's just inevitability. No matter what, you're gonna get cut. You get glass in your eye. There's so many things involved.
It's a lot of practical effects. We did a lot of testing with tempered glass, half-inch thick tempered glass. And we have different methods for different stunts that take place. Some of it's thinner, some of it's thicker, depending on what the action is. Some of it doesn't break at all, and these guys get slammed into it, so it can't break. Depending on what the stunts are and what we come up with, we have to kind of move left or right depending on what the stunt requires.
We had a special effects team actually use pyro to shatter all this glass, and then we could only do that one time because the reset time is so significant.
Total glass stunts in general, I think was around 10 or 11. First take, we were like, yeah, let's just destroy as much as we can. Yeah, it was just so much glass. At least they weren't mirrors, so I don't have to worry about luck or anything. Oh, that's right, we broke through the ground. Wick picks up the Chet, fireman carries Chet, he lands on the glass. I felt bad for the stunt guy that I had to do it too, because we did it like 5 times. And then, so what we did was we were all in wires, and then we took the glass away, so we're just hanging there. And also a throwback to the first movie when Daniel Bernhardt throws me over the balcony in the red circle. Pretty much just hung us, and then it's called a 3-ring, which we pull a tag and you just fall. And it was probably about 9 or 10 feet, just straight to the ground. And it was so painful.
I said to Chad already, after finish with the movie, how they will do with the building. So Chad said, for us, it looks like real building. How cannot just sell to someone who want to collect?
Any project made by filmmakers that love film, you're gonna see it. You have a group of people that not just love what they do, but love the type of movies that we're making. And that's why people put in the extra work, and I think that's why people on their day off come to the stunt rehearsals, because not only do they want to be a part of it, they want to be better at what they do. You know, the cameramen not just want to get there and get the shot, they want to get there, get the shot, and know so that the next time they work, they'll have more experience. They want to be part of the process, from our nondescript stuntmen all the way up to our doubles, to our cameraman, to our cinematographer, to myself, to our cast. When everyone sees everyone working hard, you want to work harder.
I'll catch up to you, John.
No, you won't.